What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it. Okay, it is the 14th day of March, and it is a Saturday. We have about 10 hours and 46 minutes left in the day, sitting here at $70,700. We have pulled back from our high yesterday, and again, this high point was rather obvious, I think, because of the dynamic that we have set up in this 4-hour RSI. Now, whenever I last made my video, we were actually at a higher point here. The 4-hour had yet to close, and then we pulled all the way back down to this point. It didn't look like this, but even more so now with this 4-hour close looking the way it does, a double top, and it's a slightly lower high with that, right? Double top, slightly lower high, slightly higher high here. You were supposed to break out and move higher, but this rejection here, it's a true rejection. I think that this will promote the price dropping over the coming days and maybe even to start off next week. I think that we will potentially see prices back below 70K. I had a little bit of hope that we would still continue pushing forward just because of the idea of this bull flag here, this measured move. We could be going up to like 75, 76K, somewhere up here. But I don't think it's going to work out. I do think that we found resistance, and I do believe that we will come back down. Looking at the RSI again, I don't like messing with double tops, guys. I don't double tops, double bottoms. You don't really mess with that, right? It's not likely that from here we're going to bounce and see a stronger reading. It can happen. Anything can happen. But I want to look at the short-term stuff, see where we're going, see if it makes sense to expect lower prices. I think it does, but let's just look at the 1-hour time frame real quick. 1-hour time frame here, looking at the RSI. I mean, overall, the RSI is bullish, getting overbought, not getting oversold. That looks good. We're at an area where you'd expect to kind of recover. Maybe from here at $70,800, maybe we do move up a little bit, but still, I wouldn't think that we get a higher high. I would think that we actually do reject the overbought zone, maybe even reject the 60 level. Something in this area we will likely reject and come back down, getting into this oversold zone either tomorrow, Sunday, or Monday. I don't expect much to happen over the next 36 hours just because it is the weekend. But I do expect that next week we will open up the week to the downside, and we very well could go below 70K. Looking at this here from a low to a high, we have gone below our 382, and you guys know how I feel about that. Typically, these kind of interactions, they don't bode well, and we do inevitably go down to the 0.5 or the golden ratio. The 0.5 being at 69.6K, giving us the first inclination that we will actually go below 70K, or even 68.7 to 68.1K, the golden ratio. Bitcoin has a very strong relationship with both of these levels. So as far as which one's more likely from here, hard to say. I wouldn't be surprised if we went below 69K. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the target overall. I'm not expecting anything terrible. You never know, though. I think, wasn't it the weekend? I forget, like 2 weekends ago. Isn't that whenever these strikes on Iran from Israel and from the United States? Isn't that whenever it happened was over the weekend? So I mean, there could be something that happens over the weekend that the markets don't receive positively, or maybe they assume will be received negatively, so we drop a little bit in anticipation of that, but then we recover throughout the week. Either way, however it goes. Maybe there's nothing new with the Iran conflict going on right now, but still the charts to me look like we might see some downside. From here, we very well could move up. Looking at the RSI, looking at the stochastics, even the MACD, it is completely reasonable to expect that we could see prices around like 72K or something like that, and then proceed lower. But overall, I am expecting that we do move down a little bit. Looking at the 4-hour time frame here, the stochastics look not good. It's not common to bounce here, though we did bounce here last time. But the orange line was at the 50. The blue line was down here. We had some separation. Now they're together. I really do think that this will promote some decay. I think that we will come down. I mean, overall, this kind of looks like a slanted M pattern here. And once we get below this low, which that low's at about 69K, that even opens up the door for lower prices, even below the golden ratio zone that we were talking about a second ago, from a low to a high here. Getting, whoop, come on now. Oh man, so close. There we go. Getting below this, we really could go down as low as 67 to 66.5K. If we break below 66.5K, we're talking about 63.5 to 61K and maybe even lower lows at that point. It's still completely possible, and this is something we've addressed plenty of times throughout this range, that we see a lower low, and then from there we can still even get a higher high. And it might not look exactly like this, you know, it might not be a quick drop. Maybe it's a more methodical kind of drawn out process, and it takes a lot of time to get to that lower low. However it is, you know, it could be April, the middle of April, before we see a lower low, and still we could recover and get to a higher point than these prices here. I don't expect that we're going to break out of this range to the upside fantastically or to the downside dramatically. I think that it's going to just be the same thing that it's been, which is every pump gets dumped into, every dump gets pumped into, and so on and so forth, and we're just going to move sideways until May or June, right? That's the expectation. I think that we will likely start to sell off in June. We'll probably reach our high points of this consolidation range in May. The high points likely, in my opinion, will not be above 80K. At the very most, maybe 85K. But I doubt, you know, if we were to go to the limits of this range, I think that 80K, something in there, might be the highest that we see. But personally, I'm expecting that we don't even get above 80K. And again, the reason for that is in the last bear cycle, whenever we had our consolidation ranges like this and we come back up, we actually didn't even interact with the prior price action. We stopped just below there. So I'm thinking that we don't even get to 80K. If for whatever reason we do get above there though, there is a lot of prior support here that could be found as resistance now, and that is like right around 85, 86K. So something in that range there. Getting back to the 4-hour time frame, there's another thing that I think is rather obvious as far as like expecting the drop goes, right? If we look at the 4-hour RSI, we take our oversold or overbought areas here, okay, every single time, and we see what happened afterwards. From this high, and this was on the 15th of February, to this low point here, this was on the 19th of February, 4 days later, you went from about the same price that we're at now, $71,000, all the way down to about $65,000 in 4 days. 4 days time. From a high here at $70,000, you drop down to a low of $63,000. And this was from the 25th of February to the 28th of February. 3 days time. 4 days time, 3 days time. And that was a $7,000 drop. I think this was what? This was a $6,000 drop. From here, from this high, which was on the 4th of March, to the low here, again, all correlated to these points of resistance in the overbought zone on the 4-hour RSI. We went from a high of 74K to a low of, let's just call it 66K, 65.5K, whatever. That's about like $8,000 to $9,000 of a drop, and that was from the 4th of March until the 8th of March, or maybe the 9th, the very beginning of the 9th of March. So basically another 4 days, 4.5 days there. Our recent high was right at about $74,000. Here we are at $70,900, basically 71K. The low being, you know, right there, basically at 70K. We've dropped $4,000. Here we dropped $6,000. Here we dropped $7,000. Here we dropped $8,000 to $9,000. Here we've only dropped $4,000, and it's only been like 1 day since we found this high. So I think that over the next few days, we will continue to drop. If we do drop over the weekend, we'll leave a gap up. That might leave us a gap to fill over the next week, and we should see ideally a higher low, not a lower low, but anything can happen. If we were to see a lower low than this drop here would be bigger than any of the subsequent drops that we've seen so far. It's not that it can't be bigger, but it would be bigger, which is like a little bit outside the range that we're going with. So at this point in time, I'm not expecting that we see a lower low than this. I'm just expecting that we see something between a total of a $6,000 to a $9,000 drop from this high point over the next 3 days, right? And we've already seen about $3,000 of that drop right now. So We've got a little bit more to go. The stochastics on the 4-hour definitely reflect that. The RSI certainly reflects that as well. I mean, finding support at the 50 is nice, but let's see what we do. Finding support at the 50 and finding resistance at the 60 is not good, but getting up to the overbought zone is fine. If we find resistance at the 60 here and come back down, I would very much think that we come back down lower, and we probably do find support down at the oversold zone. See, this range is very easy if you're looking at the 4-hour time frame, because every single overbought area has suggested a time to sell. Every single oversold area here has suggested a time to buy. If you followed that protocol from here, that was a good area to buy. Was it the perfect low? No, but it was a good area to buy. From here, if you bought as soon as you're oversold, was that the perfect low? No, we dropped a little bit lower, but it was still a relatively low point, especially in the context of this overall range. This here, pretty spot on. Once you got oversold, it was literally right at the low. Once we got oversold here, it was pretty spot on as well. So again, same kind of idea here. I don't know if we need to go into the oversold zone. It might not be quite that dramatic. We certainly didn't do it here. But whatever it looks like, I think we will definitely be in the proximity of this area, if not in the oversold zone, before we start to move up. And going off of the prior trajectories, this kind of like 3 to 4 day time frame where we've seen these downward sloping moves happen, I would expect that by Tuesday we have this pullback resolved. Everybody yesterday was saying that the bull market is back. We're so back. It was just like this high. It was exactly just like this high. It was just like this high over here, right? And this whole time we've been saying, no, we're not in a bull market. No, we're not in a bear market. We're not. Well, I guess we are in a bear market, right? Sorry. We're not breaking out to the upside. We're not breaking out to the downside. We're just moving sideways. We're going to continue to move sideways. The earliest that we could break out of this sideways channel here, the earliest that we could, would be April. And I'm thinking that it will likely be sometime in June that we break out. We'll likely be in this range up until June, if not May. For any of you who have missed it, the sell in May, go away theory, I think, has been debunked with Bitcoin. It's more of a sell in June, go away theory. We can go over that some other time. I've just gone over it enough in my time as an analyst. I did that. We haven't really gone over it any time recently, so I will go over it, but we're going to go over it plenty, probably closer to May, right? Because everybody's going to be talking about sell in May, go away, so it'll be more relevant there. But it's really sell in June, go away that works for Bitcoin more often than not. Sell in May, go away is a logical thought. There's history behind it and there's rationality behind it, but things change, things shift, and it's not sell in May and go away, at least for Bitcoin, at least in the experience that Bitcoin has had with its life. But I digress. Looking at this again, just on the 4-hour time frame, MACD's crossed red. We were green for a little while. Come back down to the 0. Find support. This is not a bad thing, and then we can move up higher. Stochastics definitely look bearish here. It's not common to bounce. You would expect to get oversold. The last few times we got oversold, I mean, look at this, right? Did we do this where we got oversold or overbought and then came out of it like that? Or did we live in it? Did we live in it for a second? Did we live in it here? We lived in the oversold areas every single time, right? I don't expect this to be a quick reaction. I expect this to be a long, slow, drawn-out reaction. And again, completing the thought of what I was saying a second ago, people will probably be freaking out the most down here, just like they were freaking out the most in a good way, in a positive way. The bull market's back. We're going to be freaking out here. Everybody, all the people who believe that Bitcoin's going below 40K, they're going to come out of the woods, they're going to come out of their caves and then scream at the top of their lungs at the low point, just like they did here, right? I was one of those people who was saying we're going to see a lower low down at these areas. I wasn't thinking that we would go below 50K or anything like that, but just like a slightly lower low here. And there is still that possibility that we could see a slightly lower low, but that's just not what my perspective is at the moment. At the moment, I'm very confident we will not go below this low. And I am very confident that we do go below these lows, and we probably do. We really could go below 68K. We really could. But at the moment, 68, 69K seems appropriate. What is that range? Let's just see here real quick. What is that range again? Yeah, 68.7, 68.1K. 66.5K at the lowest. That's what I'm going for. And in fact, real quick before we move on to the daily time frame here, I just want to see something. Looking at this from a low, come on now, low to a high. We're not going to take the fake out high. You did bounce off the 0.5. Came all the way down right at your 786 area there. Low to a high here. Bounced right off the 886. Okay, so we've shown significance at the 886. Here you definitely did break down, but again, you found support at the oversold zone, but then you found resistance here. That gave you premise to go lower. So, if we see some type of readings like this where we're not getting overbought and we're not really seeing any kind of productivity, it might make sense to expect a drop, right? Like if we pull down to this 66.5K area, something like that, and we get a weak reaction off it, we're finding resistance at prior support, it might be appropriate then to expect a lower low. But for the time being, I'm not expecting that, okay? For the time being, I want to see how we react at this point or in this zone where we will likely find support before we get to that conclusion. Looking at this low to a high here, bounced off the 886 two times right there. This time it was a little bit more of a robust reaction, wasn't it? Low to high here, golden ratio bounce, low to high there, 0.5 bounce, low to high here, just below the golden ratio. I did think that we'd go a little bit lower because of that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but that was an immediate reversal, so we changed our opinion there. That 886 area showing up twice, the golden ratio, the 0.5 area showing up a couple of times as well. It would really make sense to go somewhere in that range. So 68.7, 65, or 66.5. That's the area that I'm anticipating. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. We're at $70,900 now. We very well could go up to this 72K area before going lower. Don't be fooled by the upside, and don't get discouraged by the downside, okay? We're not doing anything. We're just moving sideways. It's the same thing. Being range bound is fun. This is where trading is probably its easiest. If you just don't use emotion and you're like, I will buy here, I will sell here, right? And maybe not exactly that simple. It could be that simple. I don't think that we're going to go below this low though right now. Maybe it's more simple if you're just focusing on the 4-hour RSI. But again, I digress. Let's look at the daily time frame. Daily RSI, very positive structure. Very positive structure here. We've got these higher lows holding up this trajectory nice. We definitely can come down, find support here. If we did find support there, that'd be right at the 50, and that would be on Tuesday, 4 days after we found our high. Isn't that convenient? How it's exactly the same as every single drop that we've had from these rejection points at the overbought zone. The stochastics are crossing back down, and to be fair, the stochastics are weird. I don't know how reliable they're going to be. I mean, at this moment, I would expect that you come down a little bit, sure, but it's because we're choppy and moving sideways for the past month and a half. That's why they're not reliable. So whatever. The MACD doing exactly what we expected, from like the beginning of this month, which was that we would come up to the zero, and likely this would be a point of resistance, a point of contention where maybe we come and break through, but likely not on the first attempt. We're probably not going to break through this level on the first attempt. So here we are, probably finding resistance. I don't expect much to happen over the weekend. I think that we will have a red weekend, but it's not going to be a significant red weekend. And then sometime next week, early week, we should be down here. People will be freaking out. And then by the end of the week, people will be excited again. Does that sound familiar? And then once we get our slightly higher high, the bulls will feel vindicated. They'll be very, very loud. And that's whenever we, round and round we go. We come back down. Maybe then we even see a lower price. We'll see. But I don't really have anything else that I want to say. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. From a weekly perspective, we are building bullish divergence on the MACD. The RSI is getting out of the oversold zone, which is positive. That's a good thing, actually. We probably do close this week green. We have a day and 11 hours left. I don't think that we'll close it red. The stochastics are also coming out of the oversold zone. So there really is the potential that between now and the end of the month that we are above these highs here. And it really could be as early as next week, if not the following week. I would think that we are above these highs. Again, I don't believe that we cross above this low point here, but if we do, the highest of my expectations would be maybe 86K, 85K, somewhere in that kind of area. We could find resistance in this zone, but again, I'm expecting that we won't even actually hit it. We'll probably just miss it. And I don't really have anything else. So with that, I leave you. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one, okay? Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.